Hi, this is Donna Arthur from Clever Crafting. Thank you for joining me today. Sorry about the sound of my voice. I promise I haven't been out partying. I've just got a bit of a cold. Okay, so this is the beautiful card that we're going to make today. It's called a stepper card. It's got a few measurements, so you'll have to be patient, but it is a lovely card when it's complete. So we'll be using the Christmas elves. You can see I've coloured and cut one there. Some scrap card. You will need a tea ruler. Got a couple of 6 by 6 inch pieces of patterned paper. This is an A5 piece of card, which is 21 centimetres by 14.8. Pair of scissors, which I actually don't think I use, a pencil, glue, eraser. So what we're going to do first is cut the papers. So you saw there that the bottom piece is actually landscape. I'm going to use the music for the bottom of my card. So I need to make sure that I cut it in a landscape way because this is directional. If you had non-directional, it wouldn't matter so much. So I'm cutting this at 4.5 centimetres. Now you don't have to worry about these measurements. I will put all of the measurements in the description box below, or a link to all the measurements in the description box below. So what I've got here is this is the strip that I've cut off, but it's a bit too wide. I need to cut it smaller, so I'm cutting it down to 14.3 centimetres. And that will give me a nice little space all around the outside of the paper. So with this piece, this is the one that's going on the 3 steps. So each one of those steps is going to be approximately 5 centimetres wide. So I am just cutting that off at 4.5 centimetres. And then this one I am... this first one I'm cutting at 5.5 centimetres. The next one I'm cutting at 5 centimetres. And the last one is a bit shy of 5 centimetres, but it works fine. So we just have to use that one strip. So this is the cutting and the scoring template. But once again, I will have that linked in the description box below. All right, so what we're doing here is I am just writing the words bottom front so I don't get confused when I'm turning my piece of cardstock around for this project. So I am measuring up the edge to 10.5 centimetres. That's actually halfway along this piece of cardstock because that piece of cardstock is 21 centimetres tall. So I'm going to draw a line using my T ruler out to the 5 centimetre mark. So this will actually be a score line, but we're not going to score it yet. It's just the best place to start putting our lines on. So I'm spinning my T ruler back around again, and I'm going to make sure that my T ruler is lined up with the centimetre side because my T ruler has centimetres one side and inches the other. And I'm going to start 5 centimetres up from the bottom, and I'm going to draw a 7 centimetre line. So that's starting at 5 centimetres and it'll finish at 12 centimetres. Now I'm going to put my T ruler along the same edge as I had before, and I'm going to mark 10 centimetres in. So I've got the first line is at 5 centimetres. This next line is going to be at 10 centimetres. Spin my ruler around again. I'm going to start at the 5 centimetre mark again at the bottom, but this time I need to go a 1.5 centimetres taller, so I'm going to 13.5 centimetres. So you can see that I've got those 2 vertical lines there. What we're going to do now is cut them. So for many of us, it's easier to cut with a ruler and a blade. I would have done so, except my blade is hiding. So I'm going to use my paper trimmer. I understand that most of you are very adept with paper trimmers, but it does take a little practice for those of us who haven't used it a great deal like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up at 5 centimetres. What I should have done, by the way, is instead of having the bottom of the card, bottom front, down the bottom of the trimmer, I should have had that turned around 180 degrees and had it at the top. But never mind, I was still able to manage to move my cutter along the horizontal there before I put it down. So that's my blade, the dark grey there. And then just cut in that section where I had drawn the line. So now I'm going to move it over and line it up at the 10 centimetre mark, and I'm going to do the same thing. It does really help having the rulers both horizontal and vertical on the cutter, because you can line up, there's a mark in the centre of the blade that you can line it up against a measurement and then drag it up to the last measurement. So you are just cutting within a certain area on your cardstock without cutting all the way through. What you do have to remember though is to hold the blade up and put it in the right spot before you start cutting. Okay, so now you can see we've got the 2 slits, which is wonderful, and we are just going to erase the pencil marks. Okay, So now what we're going to do is draw out where we're going to be putting all of the score marks. So remember when we started the cutting line, we marked it up 5 centimeters. We did erase those pencil lines, so I'm just going to put a little tick mark at 5 centimeters. And I'm going to draw a line from the first cut right through past the second cut to the edge of the paper. Now that should be right at the bottom of those cut lines. Now I'm going to go back into that first little cut section and I'm going to mark up 1.5 centimeters. Then I'm going to mark a further 5.5 centimeters, and that should take us to 12 centimeters, which in actual fact should be the top of the cut line. So now I'm moving it over into that other section between the second cut and the edge of the cardstock. And I'm going to mark up 3 centimeters from that 5 centimeter mark, so that's at the 8 centimeter mark. Then I'm going to proceed and go up an extra 5.5 centimeters. In this case, I counted it out, which will take me to 13.5 centimeters, which is the right spot for the to be at the top of that cut. So now all we're going to do is draw in these lines. So these are the score lines. So we're going to draw from the first cut to the second cut at that first little tick mark, from the top of the first cut to the second cut for that second little tick mark. Now we're going to go up to the top of the second cut where that third little tick mark is, and we're going to go from the top of that cut through to the edge of the paper. Then we're going to go to the fourth tick mark and go from the second cut to the edge of the paper. Now once again, please don't stress about any of these measurements because all of this is listed on the template. Okay, so now we are going to do the same thing with our paper trimmer that we did before when we were cutting, except this time we're going to use the scoring tool. So just make sure that the cut tool is right down the bottom. I can't tell you the number of times I've cut instead of scored. So make sure that that's right down the bottom so we can, as to make sure that we don't cut the cardstock. Line it up on the horizontal and then mark your scoring. So once again, we're just following the lines through. I think I'm speeding this up at this part because, yep, all the rest of it is actually in real time. This part isn't. There's a couple of other parts that aren't. You all know that I do like to keep my videos under 10 minutes. This one's just a wee bit longer today because I wanted to do stuff in real time to make sure that we've got enough time to talk about exactly what we're doing. All right, so I'm just scoring all. I probably didn't really need to leave all of these pieces in, but that's okay. It's good to see how we're scoring everything, moving everything around. So now that we are done with that and we are back into normal time, normal speed, you can see that we've got all of the score lines. Once again, I'm going to erase them all. I do believe I cut a bit of this out. There we go. You don't need to watch me erase the pencil marks. But the score marks, of course, are still there. So now these are the top score marks. These are the 3 that go across the top of the card. You can see that I'm making them mountain folds. So we're not worrying about any of the others at this point, just the 3 that go across the top. Mountain fold, mountain fold, mountain fold. Now there's the one that goes right across the bottom of those 2 cuts. And I'm going to make them mountain folds as well. The 2 in the center there will be valley folds. And you can see that I'm just gently folding them because what I want to do is line up my card across the bottom and then I'm going to push it down. So they should be close to those score marks. Hopefully it's perfectly on those score marks, but if it's not, because I didn't push them down hard, by doing it this way, the card will fold perfectly. So I'm happy with that result. So I'm using my bone folder now to just reinforce all of those fold lines. And there's our stepper card. We're going to speed this up again here now, and I'm just decorating. So all of our pieces are cut. The stepper card is all folded, so we just get to decorate. This is the fun bit. We get to stick everything on. So I'm putting the largest one of those pieces on the first step, the second largest on the second step, and the third largest on the third step. You'll notice that when we get to the third step, there's a bit bigger gap at the bottom, but it doesn't really matter because you can't see it anyway. And once again, it's good to flatten it. not once again, I haven't done that before, but you can see that it was good to flatten it to make it easier to add those pieces. Okay, so my little singing elf, that's why I put music on it. I've just got some cardboard there from a computer motherboard box from my computer tech husband. It's a nice piece of cardboard, but any cardboard will work. I've just stuck that on the back of her to give her some dimension. I'm using a greeting out of this other stamp and die set. I've gone back to normal time here. You can see I've stamped and stuck my greeting on another circle that was a bit bigger in green. I'm just sticking my singing elf on the front, and here we are all done. We have made a stepper card. So don't forget that all of the details and the measurements will be in the description. Well, there'll be a link to it in the description box that'll take you to a PDF that you'll be able to download and print. I really like to thank you all for joining me today. I hope you learned something, and I really love to see you give this a go. If you do, please hop on over to our Facebook group. I'll put a link for that below. If you did enjoy it and learn something, I'd love you to subscribe if you aren't already. Anyway, until next time, stay safe and happy crafting.